It is Wednesday. Oh, that's much louder. All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the regular business meeting of the Sioux Falls Park and Recreation Board. It is Wednesday, April 15th, and we are in Carnegie Town Hall. Mackenzie, can you start with roll call and determination of quorum?
Teresa Cowles.
Present.
Mick Conlin.
Here.
Pam Hanneman. Brooke Wagner.
Here.
Mike Begeman.
Here.
Justin Smith.
Here.
Angela Shuffleman. Quorum is present.
Thank you. I presume you have all had the opportunity to review the minutes from the March 18th, 2026 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Wagner.
Second, Begeman.
Great. Mackenzie?
Cowles.
Correct.
Conlin.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Begeman.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Shuffleman.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public comment. This is for any items that are not on the agenda, but if you are here to address any items that are not on the agenda, we welcome you to the microphone to share your comments.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Bracklesbauer. I'm just now looking at the agenda to see if some of my items are on there. So if I want to say something that has to do with swimming, I should wait for the aquatics?
That's the director's aquatics report, so
Oh.
you can go ahead and share your comments now.
Okay, well, that's one of the things I wanted to say, but there's something else I want to say about volunteering. Is that on here anywhere?
Nope.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, one of the most important things I want to suggest is about volunteering in the parks. And the reason it's really important is that starting a month or so ago, people who have food stamps, or SNAP it's called, the age group has just been moved up for those who have to report work hours. 20 hours a week average, 80 hours a month for people ages 55 through 64. 64, we've never asked senior citizens to have to turn in work in order to get their food. But that's what's happened now because of what's happened in Congress. So I want to suggest that our parks could be part of our whole community coming to work together to try to help people with food insecurity issue, which is a big issue. It's huge. It affects everybody in some way or another. And try to make more volunteering opportunities available in our parks. This particular age group is generally reliable people. A lot of them have really strong work ethics. You're going to get some really good people. And if you can make some volunteering opportunities in the parks, you could even get 2 or 3 people together and come up with a lot of wonderful ideas. I've seen that happen throughout my whole life. If you get some heads together, you'll come up with some good ideas. And I think this is something that would be worth working on. And in parks, we have them all over town. We have these elderly people all over town. A lot of them are taking care of their grandchildren. And we know that's tragic that they're not counting that toward their work hours. But they're the kind of people that care about kids, and they would care about parks, and they care about the public and the community. And it's a nice age group to work with. And I'm suggesting that you put some heads together and come up with ways to help our community in that way and help people be able to keep food on their tables as well as doing good things for the parks and the public. So that's my comment on that.
Okay, thank you.
About swimming. Okay. One of my main concerns about swimming is swimming lessons don't have a free and reduced category. I know there are certain scholarships available here and there, but it's not like anybody who wants to get their kids to learn to swim has that opportunity. And I really think it's critical for kids to learn to swim. This is just basic thing you've got to learn in your life. And at a young age is great because we lose kids when they don't know how to swim. Well, that's one of the principal causes of death for certain young age groups. It's not the principal cause of death for old people, but it is for kids. And it's critical. We live on a river, and we have other opportunities for kids to get in water and cause trouble to themselves, lose their lives even. And so I really think we need a category of free and reduced swimming lessons besides the scholarships that are available. I want to mention that. Then there are certain gaps in the swimming schedule And when you have the free and reduced categories, they're separated on here because they're different income groups a little bit. Where you have the free family, everybody, those are the ones that have food stamps, and that's the 130% of poverty or below that. People below 130% of poverty income. Okay, so they can swim for free in the summer. So what is this? We don't care if they swim the rest of the year? The poor kid gets to swim in the summer and not use our public facilities, which they own as much as any of the rest of us individuals own the pools and the parks and the zoo and all kind of city facilities. I really think that we need to look at that and think about that. And then the next category is reduced incomes, and that's incomes from 130% of poverty level up to just over 200% if you have a child in the family and they'd be on Medicaid. It doesn't work if it's not a child in the family, because then the cutoff for Medicaid is Medicaid expansion, which only goes to 138% of poverty level. So people can still be really, really low income, 150% of poverty level, and not get to have some of these advantages. So I think it would be good to look through the schedule again and see if we can make our facilities more available to people of low income in our city. I'd appreciate another look at the schedule. If you could take time to do that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
appreciate your input, Kathy. Is there anyone else here for public comment today?
Hi there. I believe I'll have the opportunity to speak to you a little bit later in the meeting. I'm Miranda Basie. I'm the Sioux Falls City Councilor in the Northeast District. And I first want to thank you for serving on this board. All of our boards and committees are important. And I believe that this is one of the most important ones when we look at the projects and the dollars and the impact that all of it has in the city. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your seat's very, very important. And I want to just extend my gratitude for your willingness to host your meetings here in Carnegie in a publicly accessible building with the microphones and all that stuff. I have the privilege of talking with a lot of neighborhood association folks, and they're looking forward to the accessibility of these meetings being here. So I know that that's not fun, and sometimes sitting up there is a little bit different experience. So I just wanted to say, from one public official, one public servant to another, I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. Is there anyone else here for public comment today?
I've got a few things. I got some handouts. I pretend like I'm back in middle school. You don't know if you can pass things out? Oh, this is different. This is a new one. Yes.
You can put it on the DocuCam and we'll project it on the screens.
Project it on the screen.
We all have screens right in front of us, which is handy.
Tech savvy is not my deal.
We're learning a lot of things today. There you go.
There it is.
All right. So a year ago,
If you could introduce yourself first, that would be super helpful.
I'm Steve Johnson, Sioux Falls. I'm an old-time swimmer, lifeguard, swim teacher, janitor. I've had a lot of jobs. And I swim a lot. I average 4 days a week at Midco, 5:30 in the morning, except Saturdays, then we get to sleep in. Last year, Mr. Collars came forward and said we need to keep our lightning policy the way it is, and there were a few people that said maybe we should change it, but after his evidence, you people decided to vote for keeping the policy the same. I'm curious, what evidence was there? There was a lot of opinion. Should have them separate. There was a lot of opinions, but no facts. First evidence, he talks about the Red Cross. Red Cross doesn't do their own investigations. They don't do their own studies. They relied on the National Lightning Safety Institute, American Weather Service. So I have a hard time believing that the Red Cross is a substantial, credible when it comes to evidence. Red Cross is relying on other people's work. He cites the National Recreation Park Association. This group also relies on other people for their information, particularly National Weather Service, who relies on the National Lightning Safety Institute, the National Athletic Trainers Association, and I talked to the people at the Athletic Trainers Association, and they said they don't make recommendations for indoor venues. They work with outdoor venues. So they don't want you on the ball field, the soccer field, when there's a thunderstorm coming by. The third thing he talks about was the Life Saving Association, United States Life Saving Association. That group is mainly focused on outdoor venues, the beaches, the lakes, the rivers, etc. And the only thing they cite is another National Lightning Safety Institute safety article. So the National Lightning Safety Institute is in the business of selling lightning detection equipment and promoting lightning safety. So you don't go outside and play in the rain, you don't play baseball and soccer and stuff outside, and you stay out of the water. But they also claim that indoor pools are unsafe during a thunderstorm. This group has never produced any data or studies to back their situation or their claims. And their rationale is based on liability grounds, not directly safety. Mr. Collars also referred to his market research of regional pools. He only cites one pool in Sioux Falls, one other in the state of South Dakota. The rest are in other states. And he said half of them close for storms, half don't. But he doesn't tell us which ones are which. So it's hard to contact those people and ask them, why do you close? Why don't you close? I did some market research. I called 25 pools, 13 in Sioux Falls, 8 others in South Dakota, and a couple in Iowa and North Carolina. Out of the 25 pools I contacted, 3 closed for thunderstorms. They were all in Sioux Falls. The Sioux Falls pools, Midco, and the West Side. I didn't count them. Sanford Wellness and the Avera Wellness. The other 22 pools had the same response. Why are we closing? It's an indoor pool in a grounded building. The pool's grounded. Why are we shutting down? My question is also on that note. If we're closing the Midco pool, are we closing other Sioux Falls facilities when a thunderstorm rolls by? In his summary, he says that 100% of references, experts recommend evacuating indoor pools when lightning is nearby. These recommendations are supported mainly by expert opinions which fall within scientific review class 4, which is no convincing scientific evidence or data is available, but is supported by rational conjecture and expert opinion. Opinions often change with new evidence. There might be 1 or 2 people in here old enough to remember cigarette commercials where doctors suggested smoking cigarettes to soothe your sore throat. Frostbite was treated by rubbing the affected area with snow. Burns were smeared with butter and grease. And black people can't swim. Those were expert opinions. No evidence, but that's what the experts told us. The experts tell us we must vacate an indoor pool during a thunderstorm because we can't take the risk of injury or death. Yet, the city has diving boards that could cause injury and death, such as the case of John Pettit in August of '73, electrical equipment at the pool that could cause injury or death, such as the case of Jeff Rose in June of '68. I remember both of those incidents. Wet floors cause falls and injuries. Water deep enough to drown, it only takes 2 inches. Shallow water where falls injure heads and bodies. Chemicals that can irritate eyes, skin, and lungs. These are risks that the city is willing to take, apparently. Now, Dr. Tom Griffiths, I talked to him. He said, lightning injuring or killing people at an indoor pool is an urban myth. Those that promote the myth do it 3 ways. Sensationalize the danger, cause fear in the public, claim they have a reputable source, but will not show the data or evidence. If there was any data or evidence of lightning injuries or death at an indoor pool, you would see it on the TV news, in newspapers, and all over the internet. So it's time for the Parks Department to stop spreading this urban myth. Either the Midco building is properly built and maintained and is safe, or it's not at any time safe if it's not properly built. I and the majority of swimmers that I talk to believe the current policy is outdated, based on opinions and alleged risk management, not proof. All swimmers agree that risk mitigation for the public is of the utmost importance and take that seriously. However, this is not mitigating a real risk and severely limits pool users unnecessarily. I would urge the park department to stop relying on expert opinions, conjecture, and fear. Provide real evidence for the current lighting policy. And I would also urge the park board to direct the park department to use real science-based evidence and in turn change the lighting policy. I don't expect that to happen today. I expect that if this was something you would consider, it would take a little time. But there are a lot of people that enjoy the pool, just like they enjoy all the other activities in their park system. But the Midco pool, yeah, you throw people off the golf course. But other than that, the Midco pool shuts down for lightning, and I've been turned away from the pool when there's lightning in Beersford. Beersford is an awful long ways away. I've been turned away for lightning in Sioux City because in the morning when it's kind of dark, you can see that what they used to call heat lightning from a long ways away, which is silly. So I hope you take a look at this. Do your own investigation. Don't just rely on other people's opinions, which are not proof. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Steve. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else with us today that cares to share public comments? All right, we will move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business before us? Great. Next up is new business on our agenda. The first thing up is electric easement. Mr. Patton.
Good afternoon, board members. Mike Patton, Park Development Manager. This is a pretty simple item, proposed electrical easement to serve the water pump station located between the Great Bear entrance and the archery range. The proposed easement is 20 foot. Electricity is needed to serve that station, which controls the water pressure for the area properties like TJN, Great Bear, et cetera. With that, I can try and answer any questions you might have, and staff supports your recommendation.
Is there any discussion regarding the easement? Then I will entertain a motion.
So moved, Conlon.
Second, Smith.
Cowles,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bagaman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Shuffleman.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up is the City of Sioux Falls Park and Recreation bylaws. Mr. Collars. This is approve. Recommendation.
Good afternoon, Park Board. Brett Collars, Assistant Director with Parks and Recreation. So in March, the board presented the proposed edits to Parks and Recreation Board bylaws, and today they're brought in front of you again for your consideration to approve and install said amendments. In our March meeting, we had conversation around communication, namely. A question was, how does a person contact the board outside of meetings? So as Don mentioned at that March meeting, individuals routinely contact our Parks and Recreation Department through our Parks and Rec at siouxfalls.gov email. We subsequently forward those to the Park Board. We'll continue that practice. That email address is listed on our Parks and Recreation website. We're going to also post that on the Parks and Recreation Board website to increase its accessibility, viewability. A summary of the amendments that you're considering this afternoon. The chief amendment would be to designate Carnegie Town Hall as the primary location of the board meetings unless the board designates an alternative location. Changes to the order of business, Article 9, include adding an approval of the agenda, removing items added after the agenda deadline, and removing reading of communications to the board. It adds a section to solidify public input, Article 10, and it limits public input to 3 minutes per speaker. Thank you.
Great. Is there any discussion regarding the City of Sioux Falls Park and Rec bylaws in front of you?
I'll just add some comments and thank the Parks and Rec Department for their work, and he worked with the City Attorney's Office on answering the questions that came from the members of this board at our last meeting about these bylaw changes. I don't want to speak for everyone on here, but I think that the comments from the board members, including me last time, were a concern, a legitimate concern that we want to make sure the public has maximum accessibility and maximum ability to communicate and share their comments with the board. And so there were concerns with limiting the time of for public input to 3 minutes per person. However, given the fact that there's not a limit on the overall total time for public comment, and the fact that we will be increasing the advertising of that email address to allow submission of public comment outside of the meetings themselves, to allow the consideration of the board of those issues, those comments, any materials or evidence that's brought forward, gave me peace of mind. I think these are very common sense changes to update and streamline some of our bylaws. And so at the end of the day, I appreciate the work that went into this, and I think I'll be supportive of these amendments to the bylaws.
Thank you, Justin. Are there any additional comments? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Smith?
Second, Begeman.
Thank you. Mackenzie?
Cowles,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Begeman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Shuffleman.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Nellie Wilhite Historic Marker Placement. Again, Mr. Colors.
Good afternoon again. And we're joined by Rick Lingberg, President of Minnehaha County Historical Society, for this item, seeking your recommendation of approval of the placement of this historic marker. The Historical Society is requesting the placement of the historic marker in the Oxbow Greenway adjacent to Kiwanis Avenue, north of Sertoma Park. The proposed marker meets the criteria set forth in the Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation Guidelines for placement of historic markers in a park. The marker will commemorate Nellie Wilhite, the first woman pilot of South Dakota. The location, interesting, is the former site of the Sioux Skyway Airport. The proposed text has been researched and written by the Minnehaha County Historical Society. The Minnehaha County Historical Society is responsible for all costs, including fabrication, installation, and ongoing maintenance. Department recommends approval. Again, Rick's joined us. Should you have any additional questions?
Great. Is there any discussion by the board regarding the historical marker or its placement?
I don't want to monopolize things, but I'll just add a thank you for this marker. My oldest son got me involved in Civil Air Patrol here in Sioux Falls. As part of that, there's a lot of learning that goes into the history of aviation in the United States, the contribution of female aviators throughout the United States, and global history. I thought this was a really cool backstory about Nellie and think that it definitely deserves an honor. I also liked learning that this is the former location of the original airstrip in Sioux Falls, which I had no idea about. So I think this is pretty neat and look forward to approving this.
Yeah, I'd just make a comment too. I got to speak with Rick a little bit, and I didn't know, and I'm pretty much the oldest one up here, so I'm really kind of glad that we found out where that first airport site was. So thank you, Rick, for your work, and thank your group for continuing to do these. It's very much appreciated.
Great. Is there further discussion from the public regarding this item? All right, then I'd entertain a motion for recommendation of approval.
So moved, Conlon?
Second, Wagner.
Thank you. Mackenzie?
Cowles,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Begeman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Shuffleman.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I believe that concludes our new business, and we will move on to the report of the Director of Parks and Rec, Don Carney.
Well, yes, thank you. To start out the director's report, I'd like to welcome up Miranda Basie counselor to the podium to discuss neighborhood parks.
Thank you, Director. Also exciting to do this before you ride into the sunset. So we need to get a congratulations out to you on that too. Board members, I believe you received an email from me with some of this information. Been a few slight changes, but just in the spirit of transparency and wanting to make sure we're all having an open dialogue, wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of some ideas, priorities, and proposed expenditures for neighborhood parks. So in preparation for budget season and after reviewing the community surveys, neighborhood parks, as you know, are a top priority for community members. And so our team identified, I'm just going to put this, I don't usually have to learn how to do this. This is good for me. Our team identified just a handful of parks that had been part of the capital improvement plan over the years and just kind of didn't end up making their way through in the whole host of projects that the Parks Department that takes on. So knowing that our sales and use tax fund is pretty healthy in conversations with the finance director, I will be bringing forward at, I don't know if it's the next council meeting or right after, the clerks tell me the timeline on that, but I will be bringing forward a request for a supplemental appropriation of $130,000 to support design for the Willow Ridge Park and for, it's going to be really small, the park that's right next to Horizon Elementary School. I think it's Whispering Woods, if I remember right. And then that will also come with a CIP amendment to account for that. So design in 2026. What I learned from the city attorney's office is that I can't actually amend the CIP for future years unless we're in the budget process. So what you guys received was the future years amendment that essentially lays out, all those different parks that have been kind of pushed aside, needing to prioritize other projects, what have you, of just laying the groundwork and the foundation, saying, hey, it is the will of the council to prioritize investing in these parks and moving these projects forward over the next few years. So won't be able to amend the 27 and 28 CIP by resolution, but we'll look forward to that in the budget season. And that also just kickstarts or is maybe a result of some great conversations that I've had the pleasure to have with Assistant Director Collars and Director Curdy about continuing to prioritize not just developing new neighborhood parks, but reinvesting in our current neighborhood parks. I know that there's a project slated for next year at Meldrum, for example. And so I just wanted to make you guys aware of those conversations happening at the city council level. I know this isn't anything that you technically have to vote on, but wanted to make sure that we're in the communication loop. And I'm happy to attempt to answer any questions you have, though I know the Parks Board leadership probably knows a lot more about these parks than I do myself.
Are there any questions for Ms. Basie?
Thank you for that information, Counselor. We appreciate that.
Okay. Want to go on with the remainder of your report?
Thank you. As Counselor Basie referred to it in her statement, this is my last Park Board meeting. And so I just wanted to thank all the board members for your service. I know, Angela, you're relatively new, but thank you for your service as well coming on. But all the boards that came before, you guys that are sitting today, I've had a lot of really good luck with board members. Never had an issue with any of them. They've been super supportive, actively engaged. Oftentimes we'll say that was one of the best experiences I've ever had and wish I could get back on the board. I think there might have been one or two people that only did one term and didn't do the full 2 terms to serve on the board because they've enjoyed it so much. And so just hats off to all the board members, both presently sitting, but also the ones that came before you guys. And then just wanted a public shout out to all the staff that I've worked with over the last 20 plus years. They've been great to work with, top notch, very passionate. And the folks that you see out there in the audience today, hats off to our city attorney's office that are here at all of our board meetings. Karen and I think we started at the same time working for the city. And so we were fortunate to get her assigned to Parks and Rec. So that's been pretty cool to see that unfold. And so just hats off to the staff and every worker that's out there that works for us. One of the things when we survey our employees, job satisfaction is like off the charts with our team. And so just hats off to them. You don't see them, but you may see them out on the parks or in the trails, at our pools, whatever it might be. So just a big thank you to everybody that I've worked with over the years. And I know you'll be in good hands going forward.
Wow.
That's it. That's all I have.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's well, I think your leadership has made all the difference for this board. There's a reason people want to serve 2 consecutive terms, because we work with fantastic people like yourself and everyone else on your team. It's been enjoyable for me, and I think I probably speak for many of us on the board that is a consistent feeling. Your leadership has been steady, true, and you're always great about answering questions and keeping us in the right direction. And I think the quality of our park speaks to your leadership. And actually, I'd like to ask Mr. Colors to come forward and make a little additional recognition.
Get it your way somehow. Thank you, Don. Amazing. Congratulations on behalf of the department, with the board. Good job. Recent news pieces have highlighted the efforts that you've led over the 20-plus years, the heights that you've brought our system to, meeting public priority time and again, perfect accreditation scores, multiple terms running, 10 years plus, arguably the best system in the nation. As impressive as those achievements is the team that you've built, the expectation that you've set. You feel confident, good, that you've built a sustainable product that's going to continue for many years, and that's due to your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think you deserve a round. Well, I guess that pretty much sums up what we all had to address today. And I think with the approved bylaws amendments, we no longer address items added after the agenda and/or reading of communications to the board. So is there any further board discussion?
Don't believe so. I'd just like to say personally, Don, it's been a pleasure working with you and being on this board. I don't remember how many years. It's part of being old, but I've known you a long time, and being able to work with you and be on this board and seeing all of the things that have transpired during your time here is nothing short of amazing. So from a lot of people, not just on this board, I know we've been here longer, shorter, whatever, but from people in the community that enjoy the parks system that we have, thank you very much for all the work and the diligence that you've done. I know it's not always easy, and you're always kind of in the front of the boat, so to speak, but thank you for your efforts. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Is there any further discussion? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Smith?
Second, Begeman.
Thank you.
This was kind of fun. I kind of like being in.